Hello everyone, MP here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one, I'm going to be taking a look at my Psychic GLC deck. So before I start, I would like to say that I play GLC on a very casual level, and it really does show a lot in this list. So to go over every replacement and improvement that you can make would honestly just take all day, and the deck would look very different as a result. And to be honest, I think there's something to be said for just like trying not to copy and play like all the trainers that everyone usually plays in GLC. I'm not saying you should do that, especially if you're going for like competitive or whatever, but you can always play better cards in GLC for sure. But this is just what I have around right now, and I don't really want to sink too much money into GLC. It's supposed to be like a budget version of the main TCG anyway. But yeah, I'm also just looking to change things around soon. So, the stage twos mainly, try and fit in a Dragapult maybe. But yeah, ultimately though, I do have a lot of fun with this list, even though I do think my fighting deck is slowly becoming better than this one, which is, yeah, it's a bit of a shame, but I do like this psychic one quite a bit. But yeah, the first like main stage 2 line of the deck is Dusknoir. I do like the ability Dark Invitation, allowing you to look at your opponent's hand, then put a basic Pokemon you find there, maybe, and put 3 damage counters on that Pokemon. And I say maybe because, of course, this is not going to do anything all the time, but when it does work, it's an extra 30 damage, which is nice. Mind Jack is also not terrible, 30 damage, and then 30 more feature your opponent's bench Pokemon. Can be decent in the mid to late game. And Dusclops can be decent as well with the ability Cursed Blast. So if you don't mind not using Dusknoir in a match, then I guess you can just use Dusclops to do 50 damage somewhere, which is nice. But something that I'll mention now and not later is there is an item card this deck plays called Heavy Ball, which allows you to search your deck for Pokemon with a retreat cost of 3 or more, which basically just means that if you want, you can also just play the Dusclops, which has a retreat cost of 3, because then at that point you'll be able to find either Dusclops or Dusknoir with that ball, as well as several other Pokemon in the list. So yeah, just food for thought, especially if you don't want to play this Dusclops. But yeah, also got this Nidoqueen in here, which is pretty decent, to be honest. Like the ability Queen's Call allowing you to search your deck for any one Pokemon, and then Power Lariat doing 10 damage base and 50 more damage for each evolution Pokemon on your bench. This will typically be when you have a bunch of stage 1s on your bench, because like getting loads of stage 2s, of course, is pretty unfeasible with the likes of, without the likes of, what's it called? Like Reniculus, I think it's called, like the one that it's like that weird cell Pokemon that allows you to search your deck for other Pokemon, put them onto your bench. But yeah, you can use Hypno actually to search your deck for stage 1s and put them onto the bench. But yeah, for the most part, you just want to use Queen's Call to find like other Pokemon, of course, to then contribute towards Power Lariat, basically. That's kind of the main theme of the deck. We also have Rotom and Marshadow as optional support. Rotom can be quite useful, like Cycle Draw isn't the worst thing in the world, and Energy Assist can be useful just for accelerating some energy. It doesn't do any damage, like there's no chance of Rotom ever doing a speck of damage, it's a bit annoying to be honest. I wish Cycle Draw did like 10 damage, but aside from that, Rotom is pretty decent to be honest. Also got this Marshadow, which is like a pseudo draw effect, but it's only when you play it from your hand onto your bench, so it's going to be always swallowing up a bench spot. To be honest, this was a lot better when I was still running the Cofagrigus in this deck, the one that allows you to discard a bunch of your bench Pokemon to do more damage. But I did end up removing Cofagrigus because I was using it like once per game, so I ended up removing it. But yeah, Marshadow is still pretty good and definitely worth considering if you're playing a Psychic deck. Yeah, also got this Wobbuffet with the Barricade ability. Basically says as long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, basically all other Pokemon have no abilities except for Psychic Pokemon, which is really cool. So it's effectively just ability lock, and it's also a really nice follow-up attacker because Psychic Assault does 10 damage and then 10 more for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. So if you don't do quite enough damage for one KO, you can then finish something off for sure with a Psychic Assault, and then also using Ability Lock going into your opponent's turn, which is really cool. You can eventually KO stuff with just doing 10 damage, and the next turn you'll do, like 10 more, so you'll do 20, and then after that you do like 40. So, like, you can eventually get there with Psychic Assault, but of course you just want to do like a proper amount of damage first, and then, finish them off. So, yeah, that is Wobbuffet. Also got just a bunch of stage 1s, really. Malamar and Garbodor are definitely like the better ones. Malamar is kind of like, it's a bit like Xatu, really, if you're more familiar with that card. But yeah, Malamar just allows you to attach a basic energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon, which is quite nice. And then Garbodor has the attack Trash Avalanche, which does 20 damage for each item card in your opponent's discard pile. So definitely more of a mid to late game attacker, really. Weezing and Swallow are a bit of a meme inclusion. Swallow, just because I find it to be quite funny, and like no other reason really. It's just a funny card sometimes. It's not great, but like it is funny. Amnesia does 30 damage, and you get to choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks, and then they can't use that attack basically next turn, which is nice. And then Swallow Up does 40, and before doing damage, if your opponent's active Pokemon has less remaining HP than Swallowed, you do 80 more damage. So, it can do some damage. It can be decent, but at the same time, it's just more of a meme inclusion because I thought it looked cute. Yeah, also got this Weezing, which doesn't really fit the deck at all, but Balloon Bomb does say flip 2 coins for each chance, discard 2 cards from the top of your opponent's deck. I've kind of like tried to slot in at least 1 mil Pokemon into all my GLC decks just for some funny troll situations, but it is a bit silly. Like, even Thick Liquid confuses and poisons both active Pokemon. Like, it's a very silly card, don't get me wrong, but it does also have a retreat cost of 3, along with Garbodor and Nidoqueen, so again, helps out with Heavy Ball and stuff. But yeah, definitely not a great card, just a funny one. So these are the items. I've tried to like keep more or less everything in picture, but like there is some of them that got crowded over. So like Ultra Ball, for example, I'm pretty sure we all know what that does. Counter Catcher came around quite recently. Switches, rare candies. I would say if you're going to play one item from this list in like all your psychic decks, then Mysterious Treasure is definitely the best one. Discard any card from your hand and then search your deck for a psychic or dragon Pokemon and put it into your hand. So yeah, Mysterious Treasure is definitely a really, really good card, and I would definitely recommend it. But yeah, Heavy Ball just seemed like a natural inclusion with all the different Pokemon which have a high retreat cost. So yeah, Heavy Ball is a really, really good item. Also for supporters, there's definitely better options, of course. Like Pokemon Fan Club has been like outclassed a lot lately, especially by things like Sonia, but also like the upcoming Brock Scouting, which allows you to search your deck for 2 base Pokemon, which is what Fan Club does anyway, or you get the choice of like searching your deck for an evolution Pokemon. So Brock Scouting, if I can get a copy of that, that'll definitely replace Fan Club in this list. But aside from that, just some very fun options. Like I've even got like a generic draw 3 in here in the form of Howl, just because I was like filling out supporters and I don't have like enough stuff to go across every list. I think I do have a Cynthia lying around though, so like that could probably take the place of Howl. But yeah, that's kind of it for supporters. Nothing really too crazy here. As for the tools and stadiums, it gets a wee bit spicier. I really like Wishful Baton because, like, more often than not, you don't really have the greatest energy acceleration in this particular list. Like, I've found that Malamar is decent, but, like, at the same time, you want to at least have a baton once per game to, conserve 3 energy so you can, like, attack again with a big attacker. So, like, moving all the energy from, like, Nidoqueen maybe to a Garbodor or, like, a Weezing if you're in a funny mood, or like maybe to a Dusknoir if you really wanted to. So I really like Wishful Baton. A skateboard, like probably just swap this out for a Floatstone, but it's in here for at least some pivot potential. Spell Tag is another really, really good tool card. Basically just allows you to sprinkle 4 damage counters wherever you like when this psychic Pokemon gets KO'd, which is really good. Bodybuilding dumbbells, because I am playing 4 stage 1s, so it gives plus 40 HP to one of them. So typically I just choose Weezing because it's funny, but that's dumbbells. Also got Altar of the Moon, the retreat cost of each of your Pokemon, both yours and your opponent's. So you do have to be careful with this because it can buff your opponent's Dark deck or their Psychic deck, but it does give Pokemon -2 retreat cost, which is really helpful in this deck. So yeah, do like Altar of the Moon. And then Dimension Valley just reduces attack cost of Psychic Pokemon by -1 colorless, which is a very, very scary effect. So all of a sudden, Dusknoir can attack for 2 energy and stuff like that. So Dimension Valley is another really, really good Psychic card. Definitely would recommend picking up one of them. But yeah, as for the energy, I've got, I think that's 8 basic energy, I want to say. Yeah, 8 basic energy, then double colorless, then a counter energy, which is really good, and a Horror Psychic. If you don't know what Horror Psychic does, it basically just says when this Pokemon gets attacked, then you get to put 2 damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon. So, just have some nice synergy with some spread attackers. And basically what I'm looking to do in the future is just like add more spread attackers, really. Like, I do like the stage 1s in the list, especially Weezing and Swallows because they're funny. But I might just remove, like, Wobbuffet, maybe the Rotom as well, and probably Nidoqueen, and swap them out for like a Dragapult or something, and just have some like fun spread options. But yeah, thank you for watching. This has been Our Power. I kind of like, I nearly said I'd do a new deck. I knew do a new what's that video series I do? The Menu of GLC. I was nearly going to do the exact same outro for this video, then I realized, no, wait, this is a different style of video, because I've done that outro so many times. But yeah, thank you for watching. Been a mess of an outro, I know. But yeah, let me know what you think down below. Is this the kind of thing you'd like to see for other deck profiles? Because I have a fire deck, a fighting deck, soon to be a dark deck. It's not quite finished, but I do kind of have one. The water deck is even worse than this one. Like, it is so bad with like Empoleon and Wugtrio and Golduck and Starmie. It's dreadful, but you know, I could feature it if people wanted to see it. But yeah, it's been Power. Let me know what you think down below. And yeah, thank you for watching.